Hello and welcome to day 3 of Black Student Success Week, the Black Hour webinars. It's good to see you all joining us again. Go ahead and shout out where you're joining, where you're watching from, and let us know. Were you with us yesterday for our insightful conversation about Black learner success? Our phenomenal panelists delved into campus and system level practices that have proven to elevate Black student achievement. Yesterday's panelists provided some perspective into race-conscious admissions decisions and what it means for higher education, Senate bills in support of reparations, holding educational leaders to higher standards of accountability, and the importance of cultivating innovative programming that explicitly values every Black learner. Well, don't worry if you missed yesterday's webinar or any of this week's Black Hour webinars. You can review our visual summary highlighted with our sketch effect charts through the power of live sketching. Each key point, insightful quote, and memorable moments from the daily webinars are brought to life. Daily sketch effects are available on our link tree. I am Dr. Eric Handy. Thank you for being here with us today. Now let me bring in my co-moderators, Dr. Bull and Katrina Linden. Katrina is still on the injured reserve list. She's on the IR, but we are here holding our good sister down. Bull, how you feeling, man? You ready? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good.
Yeah. What's on our agenda for today, Dr. Bull?
Well, yeah, thank you for joining us. I know many of you actually are hosting watch parties as well. So I know that there's over 100, I think more than colleges that we have, 120 watch parties. So thank you for all of you who are live streaming through your executive cabinet meetings, your Alaysia classes, through your student services divisions. So I want to shout to all as well for all the watch parties happening from Compton to San Diego to Sierra. Today's agenda, we have opening remarks from Chief Hackett from the U.S. Department of Labor. We're also going to have Dr. King and Dr. Harris kind of walk us through the overview of the role of California Community Colleges play in workforce development through their apprenticeship programs. And then we're going to have a student speaker. We always hear from ROI, who's a phenomenal speaker, and our student who just came right off the scene as well. You'll hear from him as well. And then we'll have Carol Kim from the San Diego Building Construction Trades Council and Family Housing Corporation provide us an overview of SB1. And then we'll close out with Dr. Sujin Jess. And then we're also taking your questions and answers throughout the chat. So feel free to utilize our social media as well as the Q&A feature here. But that's what our agenda has. And Dr. Handy, we'll throw it back to you.
Appreciate you, Dr. Bush. Shout out my OG, triple OG, Walter Jones. Dr. Jones, I see you. I see you out there. After the Black Hour webinar, stay around for the after party because it awaits us. It's a laid back. Today's session will be a laid back continuation of our conversation immediately following the webinar. Man, I was checking in with my folks, Dr. Banks. We've been having some really intimate and engaging discussions, I'm told, in the after party. They're all being recorded. So if you happen to miss that and you want to engage, those two will be available on our link tree. Also, don't forget, again, join the student hour. Let's get our students to get engaged. It's a special space curated just for students to connect, to share, and uplift each other on their journey. It is hosted by the Chancellor's Office ICANN campaign. The Student Hour webinars air daily, Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. during Black Student Success Week. Today's topic I heard is Career Day. So they're going to learn about 200 plus in-demand careers and educational programs that can lead to good paying jobs. I know that they have all kind of guests that show up and all kind of prizes. So please encourage your students to participate in the student hour. Now, we have to extend our deepest gratitude to all our sponsors who have generously support and made the Black Student Success Week possible. And if I may, special shout out goes to LACCD and Dr. Francisco Rodriguez for their contribution as a platinum donor and their unwavering commitment to this vital work. If you see your college, your organization, or district listed as a sponsor, drop them in the chat, shout them out. And if you don't see your college, your district, or organization, well, I'll let you reflect on that for a moment. All right. We want to encourage you to engage with our vibrant community further. What does that mean? Let's take a moment to explore our exclusive merchandise presented from Three Kings Clothing Boutique, a Black-owned company, and consider making a purchase to support the cause and spread awareness. As you can see, I got the pink hoodie on today. We've been rocking different colorways of the different hoodies. We got bucket hats, we got nylon jackets, we got t-shirts. A real quick social experiment. Who's purchased swag either this year or in the past, and what did you get? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Let us know. And as always, we value your active participation and input. So please share your thoughts, share your questions, share your insights, take pictures of you wearing the swag on social media and tag us. No, really, tag us with your watch parties, your special events taking place throughout the week. We want to hear from you. Shout out to San Bernardino Valley College. I heard that they have an amazing Black Excellence Educational Summit this week. Fullerton College, I heard that you had a watch party today. It's in your Alaysia village. So shout out to you. All those watching, I see you. Salute. Merritt College in the Bay Area. I hear that you have a Black financial literature workshop going on. Amazing. And shout out Napa Valley College for your mental health workshop with hip hop performance from Dr. Harris. I mean, we're doing amazing things up and across and down the state for Black Student Success Week. So again, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube pages at CA Black Students. Tag us using the hashtags the Black Hour, BSSW24, or Black Student Success Week. We want to hear from you. We have to engage. All right, let's get into the day. And I want to bring our opening speaker to the stage, none other than Chief Hackett, who was appointed by President Biden to serve as the U.S. Department of Labor inaugural Chief Diversity and Equity Officer. She has oversight of both the department's internal in-reach and external outreach diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility initiatives to ensure that the mission of empowering all workers morning, noon, and night. Prior to joining the Department of Labor, Chief Hackett provided executive-level diversity leadership in both public and private sectors, and she dedicated her career to effectively building diverse and equitable infrastructures. With no further ado, please, let's give a warm welcome for Chief Hackett. Let's make her feel good, y'all. Come on, let's go.
Thank you so much, Dr. Handy. Y'all have amazing energy. So again, I am Alaysia Black Hackett. As my bio stated, I am the inaugural Chief Diversity Equity Officer appointed by President Biden at the Department of Labor. I use she, her pronouns, and for those needing a visual description of myself, I am a Black woman with blonde hair, and today I am wearing multicolors. What is this? Pink and orange. So let's get started. The Biden-Harris administration understands the necessity of addressing equity and the impact it has on America's workforce at all levels, in all industries, and in all sectors. My office specifically provides leadership and support for both the Department of Labor's external equity initiatives and our DOL diversity priorities within. Specifically, President Biden signed on the first day the executive order of advancing racial equity and support for underserved communities through the federal government, which means that we're still going to target the underserved communities that still have barriers that they face as it concerns integrating equity into planning and decision making across the entire federal government. I am put in a position to lead, monitor, and embed these priorities into our workforce today. The executive order also builds upon other executive orders and equity directives to include a focus on environmental justice, gender equity, civil rights, LGBTQIA plus issues, etc. The Biden-Harris administration has invested in workers and works to create a tight labor market where discrimination becomes hard for employers to do and is intentional about creating new opportunities for underrepresented and marginalized communities. Currently, the unemployment rate is at 3.8% and has now been under 4% for 26 consecutive months, the longest such streak since the 1960s, adding 303,000 jobs across the country just last month. Job gains occurred in healthcare, government, and construction. Black unemployment in this country in 2023 was the lowest rate it has been, which is 5.1% on an annual basis, since the data started being collected in 1972. And it's not just about employment. Real wages are growing for Black workers too. Over the course of 2021, the first year of the Biden-Harris administration, Black workers' real wages grew to be higher than pre-pandemic and have only continued to move up. The Department of Labor also recognizes that community colleges play a critical role in creating strong, connected workforce infrastructure. What you will find in my bio, I spent 18 years in higher education as a senior administrator, and some of those years were in community colleges. So I really, really believe in this. When students think about their future, they're not just picturing themselves in a cap and gown at graduation. Students want to see themselves in a good job, one that will let them use their talent, feel a sense of purpose, and gives a sense of real security, a good job that they can build their life around. To do this right, community colleges are building partnerships with employers, unions, state and local workforce boards, nonprofit organizations that serve those who are routinely left out, the rest of the school system, and more. Partnerships are key because workforce infrastructures isn't about creating individual programs. It's about creating a connected system. And community colleges have the reach to serve the people who've been left out of good jobs in the past. I'm talking Black workers, Latino workers, women, young people who are disconnected from school and work, those with disabilities, just as impacted individuals, and many more. Community colleges are the on ramp. But let's be honest about the challenges. At times, the educational system has been too slow to adjust to the changing needs of the workforce. Employers are looking for workers to quickly learn new skills in a changing economy, but lengthy training programs where students have to invest a lot of time on basic educational requirements or earn a new credential that's not tied to the local labor market isn't going to cut it. Students need to build skills and they need to make a living. To date, the Department of Labor has invested nearly $135 million in strengthening community college training grants to 170 colleges across 31 states to help build up their capacity to train workers for the skills they need right now and to strengthen your partnerships with employers, unions, and other local stakeholders to strengthen workforce infrastructure in your communities. We've awarded grants like one in Birmingham, Alabama, where partners, including Lawson State Community College, will provide a pre-apprenticeship program in industrial maintenance and machine tool technology. That project is focused specifically on increasing the number of Black women in advanced manufacturing. Savannah Technical College in Georgia is using this grant money to make it easier for students to get just enough training to meet the demands of the local workforce and fast. They're calling this new program The Future is Now. And I think that's exactly the right mindset for the urgency that's required for this moment. And in California, where you all are based, Los Angeles Mission College has also had a strengthening community college grant. They're using that funding to increase the number of Latino workers in good paying jobs as licensed vocational nurses and EKG technicians. We also want to make it as easy as possible for you to learn about federal workforce funds that become available for community college and your partners. If you haven't already done so, go and visit workforcegps.org. I'll say it again, workforcegps.org. That's the one-stop hub for information, guides, webinars, and best practices on how to access and use federal workforce dollars in your community. Outside of academia, the Biden-Harris administration has also made historic investments through the American Rescue Plan and bipartisan infrastructure law that have provided timely and much needed support to many vulnerable communities and promise good job creations both now and in the coming years. This being the case, the importance of creating pathways into good, high quality jobs for sectors such as clean energy and technology are crucial, especially in today's workforce. With less than 7% of the federal workforce being under the age of 30, we must acknowledge that employer demographics will change over time and must adapt to meet the needs of our workforce, work environments, and technological advances. Let's start by bringing greater attention to internships, fellowships, and apprenticeships that can serve as a pipeline for hiring early career professionals. The Department of Labor is committed to advancing opportunities for the Black community with the skills they need to succeed across different sectors by promoting and providing training and career opportunities in spaces like teaching, nursing, clean energy, informational technology, and cybersecurity through registered apprenticeships, as well as supporting reentry programs for returning citizens. I know you're going to talk a little bit about registered apprenticeship programs later. So, looking ahead, the Department of Labor will be celebrating the inaugural Youth Apprenticeship Week that's kicking off on May 5th. That's just in a few days, May 5th, 2024. It is a nationwide celebration that will highlight the value of apprenticeship for young people ages 16 to 24. We encourage you all to visit the website at www.apprenticeship.gov to learn more about how to get involved at events right here in California and across the company. Lastly, I know this is the elephant in the room. I want to briefly touch on the reversal of affirmative action by the Supreme Court of the United States. I believe yesterday I heard that you had several national and local experts on this subject. I want to remind you that the ban does not apply to private employers, and there are federal protections for workers. The EEOC is the federal agency that enforces Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and has the authority to investigate charges of discrimination, which apply to all aspects of employment, hiring, firing, promotion, harassment, training, wages, and benefits. Regardless, I cannot and we cannot deny that we are hearing and seeing pushback and increased scrutiny and challenges that this decision can present for diversity initiative. But that's not going to stop us. I can assure you that Acting Secretary Sue and the Department of Labor is committed to this work along with the Biden-Harris administration. Our department's Equity Action Plan has a focus on combating Black poverty. Where we're able to intentionally look at who and how we are serving and asking, what are we doing to uplift Black workers? Good jobs are being created across this country, and the Department of Labor knows we can't leave diverse talent untapped. Building an inclusive economy is not just the right thing to do, it really is the smart thing to do, and there is a return on that investment. For more information about our initiatives that I've mentioned, you can learn about it at the Department of Labor's website, again, dol.gov. And for more information on pre-apprenticeships, apprenticeships, and other trainings outside of the wonderful information I know you're going to receive today, visit the dol.gov/agency/ETA and follow us on social media. The Department of Labor remains committed to improving the well-being of underserved, marginalized, and excluded communities, recognizing that by doing so, we improve the conditions and economic opportunities for all workers. Thank you so much for this time. It's been a pleasure, and I know you're going to have a successful day. Be blessed.
Chief Hackett, thank you. Come on, everybody. Let's give it up for Chief Hackett for providing that wonderful information, those resources. And personally, I just want to say thank you for your time and thank you for your commitment in supporting this work. Something that I just heard that I just want to echo: community colleges are the on-ramp towards building skills and making a living. I love that. I love that. Now it's my pleasure to introduce a pair of dynamic individuals. First, Dr. Tina King, who is a transformative educational leader whose vision is guided by the core values of inclusive excellence, equity-mindedness, and institutional responsibility for success. Dr. King serves as the president of San Diego College of Continuing Education. Prior to that, served as the assistant superintendent and vice president for student affairs at Southwestern College. At Southwestern College as her time as VPSA, she obtained a $3 million grant to advance equitable student programs. She developed the first LGBTQ+ IA learning community and established a personal wellness center to meet students' mental health and wellness needs. And also we have Dr. Frank Harris III, my brother, who's a professor of post-secondary education and co-director of the Community College Equity Assessment Lab at San Diego State University, a senior strategist in SDSU's Division of Campus Diversity and Student Affairs. best known for his expertise in racial inequity in post-secondary education, and has made important contributions to the knowledge about college student development and the social construction of gender and race in college contexts. Harris's scholarship has been published in the leading journals for higher education. He's been on high-profile media outlets, CNN, New York Times, LA Times, you know, here and there. You might have seen them around. And during the Obama administration, Frank Harris III was invited to the White House. That's right, the White House, to share his knowledge and expertise on the status of boys and men of color in education. Dr. Harris, Dr. King, thank you for being with us today for the Black Hour, and welcome.
All right, thank you, Dr. Handy, for the wonderful introduction. And big shouts to Chief Hackett for really doing, I think, a wonderful job of establishing some context and foundation with her words from the administration. So grateful to her for that. Next slide. So today's conversation about workforce development and apprenticeships provides what I think is a very important opportunity for us to examine the economic status of Black people in the United States. And we're going to start this conversation by looking at the 2023 poverty thresholds. And as you can see from the data that's presented here, a family of four with a household income of $30,000 or less is assumed to be living in poverty. Next slide. Now, the data I'm sharing here tells us the percentage of each racial and ethnic group that is living in poverty. And as we can see here, about 1/5 of the Black population is experiencing poverty. So we think about the 2020 census and acknowledge that about 47 million respondents to the census identified as Black or African American. So when we put this in context and we look at it, almost 20% poverty rate for Blacks, that means about 9.4, almost 10 million Black people in the United States are experiencing poverty. So I want you to keep these numbers in mind as we continue to have this conversation about workforce development and preparation, because they're going to kind of help provide some important context to this conversation. Next slide. So the data that I'm sharing with you here are the figures for the mean household incomes in the United States, of course, also disaggregated by race and ethnicity. And there's a couple observations I want to point out here. The first thing that you'll probably notice is that the gap in income between Black households and all other racial ethnic groups has grown steadily over the past 50 plus years. So in 1973, Black households had a median income of about $37,000 compared to about $55,000 for all racial and ethnic groups. In 2023, the median income for Black households is about $53,000. And when we compare that to the more than $74,000 for all the groups, we can see that there's a clear disparity there. A second observation I want to point out here is that in every year since 1967, Black households have had the lowest median income, right? So again, right, this really kind of helps paint a picture of economic disparity within our country as it relates to Black households. Next slide. So now I know the focus of our conversation today is on workforce development, and we're not necessarily prioritizing degree attainment in this conversation. But I do want to highlight a couple quick things here, and why attainment is really important in terms of real income for Black students. So we can see here that a Black associate degree earner has a median annual income of about $30,000, or $30,400 per year, compared to $27,800 for Black high school completers. And that's about a $2,600 annual difference. And that equates to about $216 per month, right? So some real difference there. Now, what's also interesting to note is that there's a substantial jump in annual earnings that occurs between Black associate degree earners and Black bachelor's degrees earners, right? About a $19,000 annual difference, or about $1,600 per month, right? So again, keep these figures in mind as we continue to have this conversation, about why community college matter and why they're so important for the success and the economic outcomes for Black learners. Next slide. So this last slide here before I transition to Dr. King kind of gives us a little bit of a snapshot of who exactly are Black learners in community colleges. And so we can see here that the mean household income for Black community college students nationally, right? This is not just in California, but nationally, is just over $24,000 per year. And when we compare that number to white community college students, they earn about $39,000 per year, right? Which is about a $15,000 per year difference. About 36% of Black students are experiencing poverty, and about 40% of Black women and 21% of Black men in community college identify as parents. So, that equates to about 35% of all Black students in community colleges who are identified as student parents. And then among Black community college students, 78% report having a job at some point during the school year, right? So we know our students are working, they're pursuing some sort of employment, or oftentimes inequitable or underemployment during their time while they're enrolled in community colleges. We can also see here about more than half of our Black community college students in California identify as women, and more than half are what we would consider to be adult learners. So the key point here is this, is that the work that we do in community colleges with and for Black learners, that they have real social economic implications. And so community colleges, especially in California, are important vessels to addressing systemic and generational poverty, poverty that we know disproportionately impacts Black families and Black communities. And now oftentimes we think about community college education, we tend to think about or default to our more traditional pathways, right? So our degrees, our associate degree pathways, and our transfers and so forth. And those pathways are undeniably important. But what Dr. King is going to talk about as we transition to her are apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship workforce development programs, and how Black students can benefit from participating in those programs as well. So without further ado, turn it over to Dr. King. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harris. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here today on a panel with so many powerful leaders doing the good work to serve Black students. Thank you so much, Chief Hackett and Dr. Harris, for powerfully setting the tone. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Tina Maria King, and I have the privilege of serving as the president of San Diego College of Continuing Education. Our college has been in existence for about 110 years. We are one of the largest and longest standing non-credit colleges within the California community college systems. As a non-credit adult education institution that offer all of our programs and courses for free, courses that are short-term that lead to the workforce, these programs are designed to alleviate poverty. We are a Black serving institution. We serve over 2,000 Black students, including 1,373 Black immigrants from over 75 countries. I have a long history of supporting Black students since I was 22 years old, serving as a teacher at Compton Unified School District, where I taught for several years. That work has continued for over close to 2 decades. Currently, I have the privilege of serving Black adult learners in the California community college system. For many of us who are serving adult learners, we know that Black learners are amongst the most culturally, ethnically, socioeconomically, and educationally diverse in the state. So shout out to the practitioners who are in the trenches, developing the programs and increasing Black student success. Continuing from Dr. Harris, who identified the median income levels for Black households and the Black students within the community colleges. As you can see, these incomes are essentially at poverty level and many below poverty level. In addition to our college offering intensive wraparound supports for students, two of the ways we are addressing, two of the programs that we are offering at San Diego College of Continuing Education are really primarily focused on closing the income gap for Black students through high quality career development programs and apprenticeship programs. So at San Diego College of Continuing Education, what you can see is that we offer 70 career training certificate programs in high demand sectors. These professional sectors are specifically developed for adult students who are low income veterans, first generation immigrants, refugees, and asylum seekers. So students of all ages and backgrounds enroll in our automotive, business, accounting, our child development, clothing and textiles, our digital media for cybersecurity and programming, our healthcare, hospitality, information technology, and other skilled and technical trades. So in addition to the programs that you see, another high impact practice that leads to high paying careers are registered apprenticeship programs. Next slide, please. Thank you. Apprenticeship programs are viable avenues and vessels to economic mobility for Black learners. Transitioning our students into apprenticeships is one of the pathways for addressing poverty. The difference between the other certification programs that you recently saw on the previous slide and the apprenticeship programs are that they are work-based learning programs. I'm talking specifically about apprenticeship programs. They're work-based learning programs that give students on-the-job training and help the direct job placement. Apprenticeships are known as earn and learn training programs for students to earn wages, gain industry work experience, receive classroom instruction. The non-traditional route is often more affordable and can be completed faster than earning a college degree. So to best prepare individuals looking to join the workforce immediately with good paying wages, pre-apprenticeships are essential. Pre-apprenticeship models is a program or a set of services that have been designed to prepare individuals to enter and succeed in a registered apprenticeship program. A pre-apprenticeship program, by definition, has a documented partnership with at least one registered apprenticeship program. So what makes pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs different is that upon successfully completion, students earn state certifications, qualifying graduates for union apprenticeship programs. These give students access to employment that pay livable wages. Next slide, please. So what you're seeing is that in the past year, roughly 90% of California-based apprentices are registered as male. Hispanics make up roughly 58% of all registered apprenticeships in California. Black students, Black/African Americans make up 7% of all registrations. So the opportunity to participate in an apprenticeship creates equal access for minority populations and for more women to enter the building and construction trades. There's so much more to think bigger about that will really help to serve more students, to provide students enrolled in non-traditional areas of studies through the apprenticeships. And essentially what you're seeing is the implications for this data is that Black students are not equitably represented in these apprenticeship programs, especially Black women. So now I'll talk specifically about our model in the next slide at San Diego College of Continuing Education's apprenticeship program and how we are intentionally diversifying the building trades with Black students and Black women in these skilled trades. Thank you so much to San Diego Imperial Regional Consortium for the data that I just shared that was led by Dr. Deneen Brown and her team, who is another educator in the field that's doing great work to advance Black student success in the workforce. So let me give you an example of our High Roads Construction Apprenticeship Readiness Program. This is one example of a program that is intentionally designed to address and alleviate poverty for Black learners. So remember earlier I shared that a pre-apprenticeship program by definition is a documented partnership with at least one registered apprenticeship program. So at the College of Continuing Education, we have a couple partner organizations. We have San Diego Association of Governments, San Diego Workforce Partnership, and San Diego Building and Construction Trades Council. Later, you'll have the opportunity to hear directly from the head of the building trades, Carol Kim. Next slide, please. So at San Diego College of Continuing Education, we have a very dynamic apprenticeship program. The vision of the High Roads Construction Careers Program aims to advance careers in the building and construction trades as a reliable pathway to the middle class for disadvantaged Californians. Next slide, please. Our program's apprenticeship was created to support 120 students through the apprenticeship in the various skilled trades, such as electrician, heat and front insulators, carpenters, roofers, laborers, and painters. There are 4 priority populations that must be identified and served in this program, namely women, racial ethnic minorities, underrepresented subgroups, disadvantaged youth, and individuals who were formerly incarcerated. And as we know, there are a lot of sectionalities with Black learners in these populations. Next slides, please. So to date, San Diego College of Continuing Education has proudly accomplished the following and continues to continue supporting Black students in this way. We have completed 10 cohorts of the pre-apprenticeship program. We're currently serving cohort 11. We were initially asked to serve 120 students. We exceeded our goal. We now have 194 participants who have enrolled in the program since the start of spring of 2021. 51 participants admitted to the registered union apprenticeships. Now they're actually placed in union apprenticeships. 6% transitioned to post-secondary education, and 27% of those participants placed in construction jobs. But of all of these numbers, what we're most proud about and excited to share for me is that a quarter of our students, 25% of participants, are Black students. So 25% far exceeds the Black representation in San Diego, which is only 6% of the San Diego city population. And this has been, for us, San Diego College of Continuing Education and our partners, a proven model of success for us, so much so that we have recently created a similar program for an EMT pre-apprenticeship program with the goal of diversifying the participation in the medical field. We know this is the way for the future for supporting Black students with career advancement, workforce development, and we've seen and we have a track record that showcases that. So once again, I wanted to showcase our program and what a successful model looks like with a pre-apprenticeship model and partnerships. So thank you all so much for having me today.
And thank you, Dr. Harris, for displaying for all those watching as well what it truly means to be Black-centered in your approach. And so it's important for us during Black Student Success Week to also highlight those stories that Dr. King and Dr. Harris talks about. These are not just numerical facts and data points. We have our student speaker with us. And so I want you all to invite to the stage Dimitri Reed, 29-year-old male, born in Louisiana, grew up in the South Bay of San Diego, went to Chula Vista High School and transferred to San Diego State University, graduating with a bachelor's degree in biology, but had a pivot and change in career. Recently graduated from Southwestern paramedic program as the president of class 47 with honors. Currently employed by AMR as a paramedic station in National City. And as he was joining us this afternoon rather, he was talking about just the work and how it happened to him. So without further ado, Dimitri, if I can invite you to the stage and turn your camera on. And I will go right to it. You know, can you briefly tell us about your career journey? Tell us about yourself and what it was like being a student at community college, and what is your current job and role right now?
Yeah, of course. So good afternoon, everybody. My name's Dimitri. So yeah, with everything going on, it's been pretty intense. I know with Dr. King talking about the San Diego Workforce Partnership, that kind of hit me home because that actually did help me a lot when it came to schooling. Definitely when it goes into the situation of finances, getting books, when it gets to intuition. I had an opportunity with Southwestern program, the director, and as well as the instructors when I was talking about funding and how can I get through this. Obviously myself, I was barely working at the time, trying to be a full-time student. The best part about with San Diego or with Southwestern colleges, they really care about their students, especially with the diversity. They're all about diversity. They always try to help out as much as they can. So they go above and beyond and asking what you need, what's going on. So I had a chance to actually get in contact with San Diego Workforce Partnership, and they really helped me with when it came to getting books. Books for $500 tuitions. When it came to availability, what can I get? As far as for myself, getting into this workforce, I wasn't really intending to get into the whole healthcare, but it just kind of landed on my lap, and ever since then, I knew that I wanted to work pretty hard on it. I wanted to find the resources I could. I know that sometimes it's always hard to get out there, but sometimes you have to do a little bit of research. And then once you do have something you like, go to your campus and actually talk to the administrations where you can actually talk to the instructors or talk to the head of the dean. Where can you go and advance from there? What else were you saying, sir?
Well, that's actually good because I wanted to kind of, for the students that are listening, there's quite a few watch parties and students advocating for yourself. Did you become aware of these resources that were available to you by default or by design? Were they kind of like outreach from some of your support system at the college? Or did you just kind of take the initiative, you know what, hey man, gas is kind of tight this week. Do you have services and support? Because oftentimes we see our students not show up, they kind of disappear. And then when they're asked why, oh, because I had this situation going on. Did you kind of initiate that a little bit on your own? Or were they presented to you through the orientation? How did you come across some of the services, support services, to keep you afloat?
Oh yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I had to, find what I needed resources wise and take the initiative on myself. I mean, obviously, being Black in the community, it's a lot of people aren't just going to give you everything. You're going to have to do it yourself. But again, with the Southwestern program, I saw somebody in the chat that was also from Southwestern. I think that was pretty cool. The instructors, the teachers, the directors are all about supporting what you need. And so when I was explaining to them that I needed some financial help, I needed help with the books, they went above and beyond and talked to some of the sponsorships, talked to some of the other people. What can we do for myself? And that's again when San Diego Workforce Partnership was able to reach out. And for me, it was just talking to them. There was no like side deals or anything like that. It's just, hey, who are you? How can we get to know you? What's your dreams and goals? And they loved everything about it, and they're always willing to help me work for them. They just laughed about it and just said, hey, keep your grades up, make sure it looks good and everything else.
I mean, I see, man. Oh, you first got the first responder staff too. I see what's going on, man. More of a highway patrol officer staff, but we'll figure for now. So can you give some advice to students that are in your position right now? What would you say in order to be successfully, to be successful in these programs? What kind of advice would you give them to complete?
First and foremost, you have to don't stop. Things are definitely gonna get tough. Sometimes it's gonna be harder than expected, but don't stop. Talk to your instructors, talk to those outreach programs that are willing to help you. There's people available, not necessarily 24/7, but definitely during school hours that are willing to be there after school to help you when it comes to, you know, if it's more of like math or if it's more of like an education thing or just some type of where you're kind of lacking in, they're willing to help you out with that to make you stronger and better. But again, it's like that tick for tat. You have to kind of put in what you're going to get out of it. So if someone's willing to come help you, you have to show up. You have to, be on time, be respectful in that situation where that's what helped me through a lot, especially with my instructors. Luckily enough, they saw my type of attitude I had, that I was super driven in this career field that I wanted to do. They're willing to stay after school and, sacrifice their time, but turn around next thing you know, you see me on television or on TV, helping someone in need or at whatever, and I'll get a message. It's like, hey, we're so thankful that we're able to help you out. And now we're seeing the results of you, helping people in San Diego.
Absolutely. So you mentioned the recipe for success for the students. How about for the institutions? You mentioned them having that holistic student support services for you, the instructors going above and beyond their office hours to support. What advice would you have for institutions in order to help them allow their students to complete as well?
I think it's just hiring great people. I think that's a big thing. I think it's the people that want to be there and help the students because in my workforce, that luckily enough that my instructors are some of the people I do work with day in and day out when it comes to medical aids, fires, etc. Those are like kind of like mentors that eventually, if you want to hop into, let's say, the hospital career, if you want to do pre-hospital, fire, law enforcement, you're going to see these people throughout and they want to see you succeed. They want to be able to do things. So I think for institutes that as in a workforce situation, having that same ideal employment where these people they might potentially be working with you and people naturally kind of resolve in that situation where we want to have that opportunity for these students.
Absolutely, Dimitri. And the last question, man, what brings you joy in your job now that you're there? What brings you joy?
I think what brings me joy in my job, I see there's stressful moments where, I don't want to go obviously with my work, what happens and anything, but you see the best of, you see the best of people. You sometimes see the worst of, in situations where your most worst days, that I'll show up and be able to, I think for an example was, a lady was having a heart attack within a Black community. I took care of her, stabilized her, everything else. We got to the hospital. About 2 weeks later, she stops by the station, has a thank you card, making me cry a little bit here and there, and
Yeah,
just really wanted to thank me for helping her. And I think that's one of the best feelings is when you have that reciprocation, especially in the Black community where um, our own people kind of see you for who you are, and when they show up at your doorstep and it's another Black person that's being successful and helping you out, there's that sense of comfortability and sense of like kind of that relationship you build. And when they do stop by or do see you on the fire engine or in the ambulance and they're waving and would stop by and make sure we check up. That's probably one of the best feelings. I can definitely say it's most rewarding.
Absolutely, man. That's why representation matters, man. Just the calmness that you may just bring by your presence alone. Someone feeling trust in someone that looks like them. Thank you so much for sharing, Dimitri. We appreciate you. And for all of those listening, these are the impacts of Black student success. Again, thank you, Dimitri, for all the work that you do. I want to shout out your fire station real quick so people know where you're at. We
Oh
can
yeah,
stop by.
so I'm at the National City as a paramedic right now. I work at National City at 31s and as well as at Valley Center 71s. But if you do see me around too, I'm a volunteer firefighter for San Miguel, so I know I should be at Station 16s in Spring Valley.
I appreciate you, brother, so much. Thank you again for sharing your story and uplifting us and providing some practical takeaways and tangible steps that both students and institutions can take. Thank you again. Next to the stage, I want to invite Carol Kim, who's going to give us an overview of a lot of the work that needs to be done to make sure this happens. Carol Kim, my sister from another mister in the labor world, is the business manager of the San Diego County Building Construction Trades Council. She's the CEO of San Diego County Building Trades Family Council Corporation. She began her career, though, as a classroom teacher at the inner city schools in the hood, for those of you who may not know, inner city schools, in LA. She worked as a research associate in the Health and Human Development Program for Education Research nonprofit. She's working with schools, districts, and community colleges, both in San Diego County and throughout the state of California. She's a force to be reckoned with. She also serves as the political director of the San Diego County Building Construction Trades Council, Director of Community Engagement, the San Diego County Building Trades Family Housing Corporations. She's a UCLA alum, so we won't take that away from her. You got to put that out there. Without further ado, welcome to the stage, Carol Kim.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a real honor to be here amongst so many really incredible humans who are doing incredibly valuable and important work in our communities to ensure that our Black community members, our Black students are really able to access high quality jobs. And this is something that, of course, as a labor leader, I am incredibly committed to. As Chief Hackett was mentioning earlier, she was talking about the needs to create really strong partnerships with unions, between schools and communities. And I think in order to create pathways into good high quality jobs, good paying high quality jobs, and I'm going to just note that for Black workers and Black families, unionized workplaces have historically been a very effective pathway for attaining the middle class. And they continue to be. And this is something that I think we have a lot of opportunity for here in California and across the country, and especially with the construction and the construction unions and the construction industry right now. Construction is sort of it's not sort of, it is a non-traditional sort of field that for academic organizations, like schools and colleges are not usually training people to go into construction. Often we're doing white collar work, or we're getting people set up for white collar work. But I want to note that union construction is an incredibly good career pathway, and the kinds of partnerships that we have set up, which Dr. King described earlier at the College of Continuing Education with our apprenticeship readiness programs, actually lead to those opportunities. They mentioned, Dr. Bull earlier mentioned that that I was supposed to reference SB1 or talk about SB1 a little bit. SB1 is a law that was passed back in 2017 in the state of California, and it actually provides something about $5.4 billion annually to the state across the entire state to upgrade our roads, our highways, our transit infrastructure, bridges, those kinds of things. And that's a lot of money that is pumping into our communities and into our regions, that it takes jobs to build those, right? And one of the things that we advocated for as the building trades, and the building trades are the unions, the construction unions up and down the state of California. We work together under the umbrella of the California State Building Trades to lobby and advocate on legislation that gets passed by our government. We advocated really strongly for money that would actually go into developing pathways in our communities for underrepresented communities and underrepresented folks to really get a chance to get into an apprenticeship, a union construction apprenticeship. Dr. King earlier mentioned how apprenticeship programs are different from college programs or other types of secondary education programs because they are on-the-job training programs. They're earn while you learn. So because you're on the job, you actually get paid to be trained and learned, unlike the usual model, which is that you pay tuition, right? So I'm sure all of you have some knowledge or experience with student loans. I certainly do. I have my master's degree in education. I really wish I had known about construction union apprenticeships back in the day when I was younger. I think I would have made a badass electrician, frankly. And I wouldn't have had to pay tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt, which, is one of those things. So this is an opportunity for so many members of our communities. Apprenticeship programs, especially our union construction apprenticeship programs, are life-changing. They are actually the kinds of programs that break generational cycles of poverty. And we are really thrilled to be able to actually be very intentional and deliberate about bringing more folks in who have never heard of them, don't know how to find them, and actually ensure that they not only are prepared, know how to find them, know how to apply to them, know how to get into them. There is an application process and a process of getting interviewed, and in much like I always say, union construction apprenticeship programs are the other four-year degree. We're the Harvard of vocational training, but they're worth it. And because they're worth it, it's important for us to ensure that people are ready for it. The way we do with high school students, we ensure that high school students are college prepared, right? We do a lot of test prep with them. We make sure they have all the courses and stuff, like all the way through from middle school up to high school, to graduate and be ready to apply to college successfully. We do that kind of preparation for college students. But we're not as good at doing it for folks who don't want a white-collar career or who like to work with their hands or have a different track. And you can actually make a lot of really good money and support your families with the middle-class wage if you are in the union construction industry. So just to kind of give a few other notes, across the state of California, about 90% of all graduates from registered apprenticeship programs across all industries, and that includes hospitality and estheticians and healthcare and all the rest, and construction, of course. If you take all of those apprenticeship programs across all different industry sectors and you say, who's graduating from which ones the most, 90% of the graduates are coming out of, over 90% actually, are coming out of union construction apprenticeships. We are very good at this. And so it's super exciting. That's the first piece of good news. The second thing is that about 68% of the people of color registered in apprenticeship programs, state registered apprenticeship programs, are enrolled in state registered apprenticeship programs are enrolled in union construction apprenticeship programs. And we graduate over 92% of all people of color from state registered apprenticeship programs. So it's something that we're really proud of. We're really excited to be able to do this work in partnership with others in our communities, including community colleges. And I'll also note this, union construction apprenticeship programs have been shown to actually produce the same financial outcomes for people over the course of their careers as four-year college bachelor's degrees. So in terms of the kinds of opportunity we're talking about, we should not be overlooking these. They might not seem as glamorous as being a lawyer or a doctor or an accountant even, but these are solid family-sustaining careers. And I'm not talking jobs, I'm talking careers, and there's a difference there, right? And what I'm talking, and kind of to explain or illustrate immediately some of the benefits, is a first-day apprentice. On the first day that you're an apprentice, you will start earning healthcare benefits for yourself and your family, your entire family. So if you're in a union apprenticeship program, that's what happens. You start earning full family, healthcare benefits, health, vision, dental, right? And most of our unions also allow you to start vesting in your pension. your retirement, which is defined benefit, not defined contribution. And that's even stronger. So these are the kinds of things that from day one, by the way, and some of our apprenticeship programs, they run anywhere from 2 years long, depending on the trade, to 5 years long. And if you're in one of those 5-year apprenticeship programs, I will tell you that by the time you're done, you're actually fully vested when you graduate out. So it's a real benefit. There's so many benefits to these, and we really hope that we're able to ensure that we're getting the good word out, getting folks ready to participate and be successful in getting into apprenticeships and then graduating out of them. So I have put a link in the chat about our apprenticeship programs here in San Diego County. These exist all up and down the state of California. And just want to say that we are here to partner with community colleges and other organizations who are interested in doing this work. And we do have one at Southwestern as well.
Carol, Kim, thank you so much for that. That was a lot of information, but very relevant information. Now I want to bring in Dr. Jazz. Dr. Jazz is the CEO of California Competes. Building stronger partnerships between educators and employers is the ultimate goal of California Competes. The organization's fundamental premise is that a well-educated population builds a more robust economy. So all stakeholders in economic success initiatives are also stakeholders in successful higher education systems. Dr. Jazz is an accomplished researcher who has been widely published in leading academic journals and provides guidance to the California's higher education institutions and leadership through her applied research. She's going to be talking a little bit about the organization and how it's a model for support. Without further ado, Dr. Jazz.
Good afternoon. I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you for the invitation to join again this year for the Black Student Success Week. So I'm Student Jazz. I'm the CEO of California Competes. I'm going to talk a little bit about California Competes and what we do and highlight some of our work that is particularly relevant to Black student success. So California Competes, we aim to solve the state's most pressing social and economic problems by conducting rigorous higher education workforce policy research. We then use that research to guide decision makers like policymakers and higher ed leaders in designing and implementing solutions that strengthen our economy and help our communities thrive. We view higher education as both a vaccine and an antidote against economic stagnation for our individual Californians, for our communities, and for the state's economy. And we believe that long-term economic growth for California will be accomplished through shared prosperity. Frankly, our economy requires more equitable opportunities. So how do we do this work? I said research, but it's more than just research. So we do the research piece, but we also advocate. So as trusted advisors to, I mentioned decision makers, higher ed leaders, we engage these folks in Sacramento and statewide to share our policy research and help solve some of California's toughest challenges. We also convene. So we convene experts in higher education and workforce policy. We involve decision makers, students, practitioners, and important discourse to drive systems change for the benefit of all Californians instead of just the select few. And these gatherings provide opportunities to learn, educate, advocate, connect, and inspire so we can promote innovation and embrace bold ideas. And as we heard through this panel this afternoon, there are so many folks working on these issues in different parts of our state, both geographically, but also in sectors from the community colleges and both the community colleges, the CSU, through the trades, counties, cities, local workforce development boards, and the list goes on. And so beyond just bringing people together, we also partner. So we partner with institutions, local and regional governments, employers, student groups, philanthropies, peer orgs, to use our collective voice to affect a double bottom line, achieving equity for students and growing our regional and state economies. So that was a lot. And what I also want to hit home is that this work for me is personal. So I, was a first generation college student. My mom was an immigrant coming to the US with, very little English and working as a domestic and a farm worker. My dad went into the military as the only sort of, occupational opportunity he had for himself. And they knew that college was important. And, we talked a little about affirmative action earlier today, and I was part of the last class admitted to the University of California with affirmative action. And it was really pivotal to me being in high school, those conversations happening about like who is college for, who should have access to it, and then seeing the impact in our state when we eliminated affirmative action. I went on as an undergraduate then to do research with a professor who studied the elimination of affirmative action and social stratification, the sociologist Jerome Carabel. But my path from then on out was like very circular. I had random engagements and job opportunities that just happened to land, in my email or a flyer. But I didn't really understand the pathway to a good job because my dad, who at that point now was, had left the military, was now a mailman. My mom, whose English was better, is now working at Kmart. They couldn't really tell me, like, what does one do with a college degree beyond being a doctor or a lawyer, right, or a teacher. So that I take with the work at California Compete because I hope that today's students will have a much more seamless process. And that's what I'm working towards, that it's not just about getting into college and then graduating college, but being able to transition quickly to that first good job. Because every moment that we lose for a student not getting that first good job is not just a loss for the student, but it's a loss for our state and our communities too. And it's really, really critical. We don't just celebrate mission accomplished at graduation. So now we're at the midpoint of Black Student Success Week. So let me talk a little bit about California Competes and how we work towards advancing Black student success. So all of our work, as I kicked off, is focusing on equitable opportunities for our state, because frankly, if we want to meet any of our state goals, we have to figure out how we better serve the underserved in our state, those who we've marginalized in our systems. So all of our work is really focused on revealing and addressing these uneven opportunities across California, and then identifying actionable, fiscally pragmatic solutions, and next to get those solutions implemented. And then frankly, the cycle starts again. And then we'd think about, okay, how's that solution working out? How do we improve it? How do we make it better? Did it open up another sort of issue that we now need to address? Because we know that the road is long. So to that end, I want to show you something that illuminates what I mean by revealing issues. And it's something that I think is sort of widely applicable to many folks. And that's why I'm going to pick this one. So I'm going to do a share screen. All right. So right now you should be at the California Competes website. You should see this, californiacompetes.org. And if you click on this interactive map link, this brings you to our post-secondary to prosperity dashboard. And this dashboard, we look to braid together like a dozen different data sets to paint a picture of opportunity across our state. And the data sometimes is easily available, but not all together to get a comprehensive picture of this. We want to make it easy for folks to be able to understand what's happening in their communities. So I'm just going to go to the statewide data, but you can also break it down by region, as you can see on the map right now, or also by county. We break this up into three main sectors: post-secondary, workforce, and prosperity. And I'm just going to highlight a couple of different data points and sort of how the dashboard works, but I encourage you to explore on your own. There's literally tens of thousands of different data points in this dashboard. So we're here thinking about post-secondary access and workforce development. So let's go to the post-secondary tab. So looking at educational attainment in our state, so you can see about 35% of Californians have no college, 20% have some college, 8% an associate's degree, and 37% with a bachelor's degree or higher. If I hover over any of these, I can see sort of contextual data. So what are the regions with the highest levels of bachelor's degree attainment and the lowest? So the Bay Area with about 55% and the San Joaquin Valley with about 18%. If I click on a bar, I can see these disaggregations. And I will say I'm really proud of these disaggregations. We were able to disaggregate by, we included pretty much everything we can get our hands on for the different data sets available. So this is Black Student Success Week. So I'm going to scroll down to our data on Black Californians. So you can see here, the red bars, about 30% of Black Californians have a bachelor's degree or higher, 32% of Black women, 28% of Black men. And then if you're curious about how that differs across the state, you could hover over it again and see. This sort of reflects what we saw earlier with the Bay Area having the highest bachelor's degree attainment rates. So about 36% of Black Bay Area residents have a bachelor's degree, and lowest in Central Sierra with about 11%. Great. let me show you a couple of other ones. So you also might be interested, you can see we have data on high school to college transition. So who graduates from high school, who completes A to G, who has access to AP and IB courses, and then where do folks go on to college? I take a look at this one since we're talking about post-secondary access and workforce development. Let's look at did not attend, just not to highlight the negative, but just because I don't want to pick on a higher ed institute segment separately. So I'm clicking on the did not attend, and you can see about 39% of California recent high school graduates did not go directly to college. And you can see the differences by race and ethnicity. Only 15% of Asians did not have that transition, or the highest rate, the Native American or Alaskan Native Californians. We were talking also a lot about, I want to flag a different sort of sector, so I'm going to just close the post-secondary tab and look at workforce. So we have a lot of data on workforce. You might want to be thinking about employment rates, income, the opportunity to learn a living wage, and households earning a living wage. I'm just going to pick this households earning a living wage and disaggregate it. And you'll see again, for Black households, about 55% of households headed by a Black Californian are earning a living wage. And you can see the dramatic differences across our country, or across our state. And then we have some metrics around prosperity. So we could look at housing affordability is a big issue in our state. Gender income disparities. There's a conversation Carol mentioned around student loans and the impact of that when you go to higher ed. And so I encourage you to take a moment and dig into our dashboard, and I'll put the link in once I'm done speaking. So as you can see, post-secondary opportunity is so disparate across our state, depending on where you live and your race and ethnicity. And there's a number of other metrics in there that I didn't talk about, like parenting status, immigration status, incarceration status, etc. So we use data like this to inform key decision makers and then advance policies that support Black Californians in our state. We also work to provide ways learners and educators can advocate locally and at the state level to advance Black student success. So for the many folks on this call, I encourage you, even if you're not like a policy advocate professionally, you are a student, or you're in education, or you're in workforce development, or you're someone who's a stakeholder of these populations or these interests, because you're on this call. And I will say policymakers generally aren't experts in any policy area, so they depend on their constituents to understand what's going on. So I encourage you to reach out, go to their events, make your story heard. They need to hear problem and solutions. And sometimes when we hear these things, because we're out in the field thinking about this, when we go talk to policymakers, sometimes they say to us, "I've never heard that, are you sure?" So we also need for them to hear these individual voices of their constituents talking about these issues that they're facing. So with that, I'll wrap up. I appreciate this week. I'm excited to be here as always, and this panel for elevating these issues and opportunities for our state.
Dr. Jez, let's give it up, everybody, for Dr. Jez. Thank you for being with us and sharing that amazing information, especially that toolkit, that dashboard. I know a lot of folks are interested in that, so I'm sure you're going to get a lot of hits on that. What a wonderful day. I think the theme that we can all take away is that apprenticeship programs are life-changing. The data says so. So we must adjust the uneven opportunities in California to advance Black student success. Wanted to shout out a couple folks I know that were watching. SRJC, shout out y'all. I heard y'all have a big watch party going over there. I saw some of my people from ARC text me in Sac City. Of course, I'm always going to shout out 4CD and DVC. Salute, salute, salute. I see you. Stay tuned for the after party. It's happening right now. The student hour is going to be happening later on this evening. And for tomorrow's webinar, just because we make it look easy doesn't mean that it is. I challenge everybody who's listening right now to bring an additional faculty member, additional staff, additional employee to tomorrow's conversation, because it's really going to be all about the practitioners. It's going to be about the work. And we're going to be having a very special presentation towards the end of that webinar. So you don't want to miss that. Thank you once again. Day 3 is in the books. We appreciate you being here with us for Black Student Success Week, the Black Hour. Peace.